Hello and welcome to A Lonely Critic. My name is Anthony Renteria and I am lonely because I'm a critic. So, I just finished watching Turning Red, the newest film from Pixar. As always, this review will be spoiler free, so if you haven't seen Turning Red, don't worry, I'm not going to spoil anything throughout this entire review. So what is Turning Red about? So Turning Red is about this young 13-year-old girl whose family has a sort of curse where every female in the family gets cursed with having this panda that comes out when they have intense emotions. And that's basically all you need to know. It's just 13-year-old girl turns into a panda when she feels any intense emotion. I freaking loved the narrative of this film. I think it is just such a beautiful story, and then beautifully told, and then beautifully executed in like every level. And it's kind of astonishing to me that the director, Domichi, and written by Julia Cho and Domichi. I loved the freaking narrative of this film. So it's essentially like a coming of age story with this young girl not only going through like puberty, also there's like metaphors, and well, I guess like the overall metaphor is her having her first period or going through her menstrual cycles for the first time. So all that stuff, and then just being a young woman in like, I think she's in 8th grade, so just going through trials and tribulations of growing up, a youth. And then it's like seemingly takes place during like the early 2000s is what it felt like. And I think they even said that in one of the dates. So yeah, the narrative of this whole piece I think is wonderful. And it's just wonderful how she executed it just on a purely writing level. I love like the arcs that she goes through with this character, and then how she reinforces every emotion and theme over and over again throughout the film and throughout the story. Specifically the relationship between the main protagonist, who is Mei, and she's voiced by Rosalie Chang, and then the mother, Ming, voiced by Sandra Oh. Both of those performances and both of those characters are like central and essential to the whole theme and narrative of this plot. And I love how they like reinforce each other, and like that's how the whole film plays with almost like every character. Like they're all reinforcing the core themes of the story over and over again, which I think is just a brilliant sign of a great writer and a great filmmaker. Like I don't want to get into too many specifics, but just the way the film like almost like gets into her perspective and into the emotions that she's feeling, and how it captures that all through like just wonderful dialogue, like quips and jokes. Like I feel like they're all captured so like authentically. Like they're obviously everything is like kind of on a exaggerated twist of reality. So like don't go in expecting like Toy Story or all the other Pixar movies. And that's something that I really love about this movie, is that it feels heightened in one of the most beautiful ways that I've ever seen in my life. The past animated film that I think was like the core highlight of where animation can go in the future, in my perspective, was Spider-Verse, and how that dealt with the superhero genre and how that dealt with Miles. It was essentially a coming of age story wrapped around a superhero story, and this film feels like a coming of age story wrapped around this whole red panda kind of ancient mythology type setting. But I love how, just like with Spider-Verse, the rapping, the superhero rapping, and then here the ancient mythology rapping is only that. It's just a rapping, and then the core and the inside and the internals of this piece is all about the emotions and the character of Mei and her growth as a young adult. And I just love how they pull that off. And I don't think many movies do that, period. Like, honestly, this is just on a whole nother level. So I guess moving past the narrative, because I don't really want to get into too many details, and I'll just bring up whatever I bring up throughout the rest of the review. I want to get onto the visuals, because I think the visuals of this film are just completely stunning and just immaculate. Some of the best 3D work I've ever seen in my life. I thought Luca was fantastic. That was the last Pixar film I watched, and all their other films are obviously fantastic as well. But the way this film felt like it had a certain aesthetic, and the way everything made sense in the world, how detailed everything was. Like there was just like, it's so interesting seeing Pixar use photorealism for like certain parts of imagery. Like I remember in Luca, for the pebbles and the rocks, when Luca would come out of the water or whatever and step onto the shore, and then like building bricks and cobblestones on the ground were all very photorealistic because of I assume photogrammetry or whatever. And this film had the same thing, but in different aspects. Like I noticed the hair was the thing to me that felt like photorealistic, and I love how somehow they can have this extremely realistic hair on people but then every other element of them is very crafted into a very, I mean, it's not hand drawn, but it is a very 3D animated sculpted thing. You know, like it doesn't feel real, but there's real parts within them. And I just love how Pixar's using the tech and they're still pushing forward into their visual mastery of 3D animation while not having to make everything photorealistic. That was my big worry for them, that they would just create photorealism 3D stuff, because I don't think that there's no purpose of that in animation, in my opinion. So I love how they're kind of flavoring their animations more and more. At least with this and Luca, I like how they intermingled the two. I think this film has like some of the best character designs, character concepts, executions of character movements, reactions. Like, it's the best that Pixar's ever done. Like, bar none, period, capitalized, exclamation mark. I mean, I think there's Spider-Verse, and then there's Turning Red, for me. I mean, that's just my opinion. I love how this, like, kind of broke. Like, there's constant moments of breaking reality within the animation. So, you know, there's obviously the breaking reality within the narrative and how things are playing out timeline-wise or playing out mentally and characters' perspectives, but the way the film deals with the actual technical side of that breaking of reality is phenomenal. Like, it is just exquisite. And then I love, because, you know, that's a very challenging thing. Like, I think you can watch this movie and be like, oh yeah, they just painted anime eyes on a character, or, you know, they had like little anime streaks, or, you know, this looks like a 2000s music video. But like, what I think people don't understand is, like, yeah, it looks easy when you execute it, but to get to that execution level, it is probably one of the hardest things in the world. Like, I remember listening to the Spider-Verse people. It took them like 3 years to just create the tech to create what would looks hand-drawn. Like, you think that'd be easy, but it would actually be extremely hard to replicate something that looks hand-drawn, because you're working in a 3D program that is, you know, not designed to look messy or hand-drawn, essentially. So the way they pull all those things off, like, just on a technical side that I don't even know about how you pull that off, but then also to pull it off visually and aesthetically and entertainingly. You know, it could come off as very bad. I really love The Mitchells and the Machines, and I feel like that's the last 3D movie that really attempted to like capture this like mixed media kind of hyper edited entertainment joyride. I think it was okay. Technically, everything in that movie was perfect, but, you know, entertainment wise, narrative and thematically, I don't think it hit the nail on the head in that film. And that's what I'm trying to say, is that it's hard to capture all these disparate elements and then make it make sense and then make it enjoyable and then make it entertaining and then emotional. And I think this film does like the master class of what Spider-Verse did, where it mixed all those things into itself. And it's the first Pixar film that feels like it's its own thing. Like, it feels like it's its own spirit animal. To tie it in with the film, like, it just feels like every single element of this film reinforces its themes, from like the visuals that I've been talking about for the last 3 minutes. Like, every single frame just looks exactly what you feel that May, the main character, is going through. And there's so many moments where you're looking through her eyes, where you're imagining her daydreams, where you're seeing her draw, or where you're seeing her have a panic attack or anxiety attack or burst into rage. And it's like the animation follows that. The visuals follow that. And then not only that, the other thing I want to talk about, the sound design and the score, I absolutely love. Specifically the score. So the score is made by Ludwig Göransson, huge composer now. He was a composer for like Black Panther, Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, all the Star Wars stuff on TV. I really don't like his music that much. Like, I'm actually kind of like I wouldn't say I'm a hater, but there's a lot about his scores that I just have never liked, and he's always had this like sour spot in my enjoyment. I remember watching Tenet. He did the score for Tenet because Hans Zimmer was busy with Dune, and I think Tenet has one of the worst scores. I mean, the worst score that Christopher Nolan movies ever had, but it was also just one of the worst scores for me personally. I don't know, it didn't feel like it pushed the movie, in my opinion. A lot of people love it, a lot of people love his work, but that's just, I don't know, I just don't click with him. But big but. The score he provides for this film is phenomenal. It's fantastic. It captures the youthful energy. It captures that puberty. Like, it feels like it's coming from a 13-year-old girl. Like, this is what she would hear doing these actions. And then the hints and the playfulness of the Asian sound. Like, it's obvious he used a lot of like Asian-inspired instruments or instruments from that culture or from that place. And I love how it sounds beautiful. It honestly reminds me, which is so crazy because he did the Christopher Nolan movie, busy, because Hans Zimmer was busy. I think one of the best scores that Hans Zimmer has done that no one ever thinks about or knows about is Kung Fu Panda. I think he did 1, 2, and 3. I think that second and the third one he had assistance from like a lot of other composers, which he does frequently, where he like collabs with other composers. But I think Kung Fu Panda has a beautiful score, the first one by Hans Zimmer, and I think this really comes close to it. So it's kind of interesting that Ludwig has been this like, he's not in Hans Zimmer's shadow in any way. He's doing his own thing, having his own career, but it's cool seeing him almost like as the next Hans Zimmer in a lot of ways. I feel like that's where his career is elevating to. Finally, for me to enjoy a piece of his work, and this reminds me a lot of Kung Fu Panda, how that captured the sound and the feeling of this history and culture. This film feels just like that, but then it honestly excels that. The score here is just so great, because there was moments where it would like evolve into, you know, it would be your classical movie score, and then it would evolve into, there's a band in this movie called Four Town that's like an imitation or, you know, inspired by like Backstreet Boys, like the boy bands of the early 2000s. And I love how there was moments of the score where it would be this like huge movie composition, and then it would kind of melt into this like hip hop inspired boy band kind of sound, but it still kept the notes of the orchestra. Just brilliant work. I mean, this is I think his best score, bar none. This is already one of the best scores of the year. Like, I mean, I love it. I think it's one of the best scores Pixar has had in a long time, since, you know, Michael Giacchino did Up. I think it's at that caliber for me. Like, I just love listening to it. I can't wait to listen to it after this review. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the editing. I think the editing is absolutely fantastic. This gave me like near Edgar Wright vibes of frantic editing and pacing, and it was so well structured, and just the way it just decays into these nightmares or into these fantasies or into horrifying situations. Like, there was one moment where the mother is doing something that embarrasses the main character, the daughter, and when I was watching it, I was like, wait, is this real? Like, is this actually happening, or is this like just a nightmare? And, you know, for a second it took me off guard, because I was like, wait, what's going on? Like, is this actually happening? And then I realized, as the scene was continuing and then it ended, I realized that the movie was making me feel like what she felt. When your parent or someone embarrasses you to such an extreme level, or, you know, something horrible happens in your life, it almost feels like a car accident in like slow motion. You know, like it happens really quick, and then it's almost like you're replaying it in your head. The scene didn't have any like replaying moments, though there are some moments in the film, now I'm thinking about it, towards the end, where it does replay certain segments. The moment felt like a car accident in a way. Like, you felt like you were the character, and it's like, what is my mom doing? Why is she doing this? Why is my life ruined forever? And it just, I don't know, just the editing of this film is just immaculate, perfect. So I just love this film. So, final thoughts. I think this is a testament to the director, Dumi Shi. She did a fantastic. I hope I'm not mispronouncing the name. I probably am. I am terribly sorry. I mispronounce every word that I speak in English and in Spanish, and in any. I can't even talk. See, I can't even talk. And in any other language. Turning Red, for me, is a masterful return to form for Pixar, in my opinion. I just want to say straight up, I think a lot of people are not going to like this film. I'm looking on Letterboxd. It has like a 3.8. I get it. People, it's a young coming of age story with a female protagonist. I'm not going to say that's why people don't like it, but it is very feminine. It is very feminine in a 13-year-old girl kind of way. And I think a lot of people find that cringy, and a lot of people don't find that fun or exciting. For me, this is like something I never knew I wanted. It feels absolutely undeniably gleeful. Like, I was smiling the whole movie. I honestly just want to rewatch the movie again, just to experience it again. So not only is the mood and the vibe something that I've always wanted to see in a film, I love this movie. I think it's fantastic. The narrative, I think, is a beautiful script, beautifully written. Love the themes. Love how it anchors itself into this core idea of being a daughter and then feeling the pressures of a mother who expects way too much of you. I think that is a very common thing that first generation children feel when they come to another country. This deals with Asian Canadian, because I think it takes place in Canada. So it's that kind of first, second, or third generation feeling. And I think it's the same in any other country, you know, like when you're not from that country. And just families from other countries that immigrate to another country, there's like this intense pressure to have to excel, to have to like prove yourself, to have to like enter into a community. The last movie that really talked about this, in my opinion, was The French Dispatch, with the final story with the expat and how he was talking to the chef. That was one of the most emotional moments for me, and I hate how everyone says French Dispatch is about nothing. It is about something. It's about that experience, and I think this film is about this experience. I mean, my parents are crap, so I guess I'm kind of lucky I didn't have overbearing parents like this mother in this film, but I know and I've seen so many people that have had this situation, and I think even though I didn't experience it, it really touched me in a very deep, impactful way to want to really please someone like a parent when you're that young. Because, you know, when you're that young, it's like they kind of mean everything to you. And not only do they terrify you, but they also love you. So it's like that's your first source of anything. Because that's parents, right? I don't know. Did I have parents? I don't know. Did I have a childhood? I don't know. But this film accomplishes the fantasy that I think I would have if I had that kind of experience. Anyways, so I love the movie. I think it's perfect. I don't know what I want to rate it. I want to rate it a 10 out of 10, but I just gave a 10 out of 10 to Batman, which that went down to a 9 out of 10. I gave a 10 out of 10 to The Worst Person in the World. That is undeniable. I think I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. I think this is the best Pixar movie Pixar has ever produced and funded. And again, Disney, you're a piece of crap for not releasing this in theaters. It's stupid. It just sucks that the first female-directed Pixar film just gets dumped on a streaming service. Like, I don't know if that was the decision or why, but it just seems weird, in my opinion. It just seems weird. The way it lines up, that the last 3 Pixar films happen to be, you know, very representative of cultures and groups that Pixar has never done before, and they're not coming out. I don't know. I'm just pissed. I think if I would have watched this movie in the theaters, I would have been crying. I would have been screaming. I would have been laughing. I would have been shaking. It would have been the best theatrical experience. And then I'm also upset because I have a crappy TV and I have a crappy audio system. So, you know, like, I'm not experiencing the movie the way I would want to. Like, I'm wanting to pay, you know? Like, and I already have Disney Plus, so you're not losing me as a subscriber. You have all your other crap stuff you can pump on it. You know, pump all your TV shows, whatever. Anyway, so that's going to end this whole thing. I'm going to give Turning Red a 10 out of 10. It's gonna be a hot mess editing this video because I'm just all over the place, but I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. I think it's a masterpiece. I don't care. I love it. I love it so much. I will rewatch this movie multiples of times, and yeah. So I recommend it. I recommend it. That's gonna do it for this review. 10 out of 10. Turning Red is a masterpiece. Go watch it on Disney Plus because that's the only place you can watch it because they are evil tyrants. Thank you so much for watching my instant reactions and rambling review of Turning Red. I love this movie. I'm so excited. It's fantastic. It's just so fantastic. It's like a dream movie. Oh, and then also one last thing. Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas, I think that's his name. They did the music for the Four Town people, and they're actually like really good songs. So I like it. I'd listen to it. I would listen to it, and it made so much sense in the film. It played exactly how it should have played. Added to the core themes. Like, I'm telling you, every element of this film is perfection. I love it. But yeah, so I'm gonna end it there. Thank you so much for watching. Give me a like if you liked the video. Subscribe to my channel if you liked this video and you want to watch more of my stuff. Go in the comments. Let me know what you thought about this film. Did you hate it? Did you love it? Were you annoyed by it? Were you excited about it? I don't know. I feel like this movie's gonna be really mixed because of how intense the energy is. It feels completely brave in that way. Like, it just feels like this is how I feel. This movie is how I feel. I'm giving it to you. If you don't want it, who cares? It's not about you. It's about this character and it's about this director and what she felt and what she decided to make. And I think that is where you really get some of the most beautiful films, in my opinion, is when it just feels like, I don't care if anyone else likes this. And this film had that like energy of like, we're just gonna do it. You know, I felt like Spider-Verse did that. And so many of my other favorite films of all time have done that. Like, they just go for it and they go way over the top. And I think for me, this film hit the sweet spot and it nailed it. That's gonna wrap this up. Check out my other channels below. They'll be in the links if they are launched yet. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great week, and take it easy.